As a routine encounter between law enforcement officers and a 19-year-old suspect escalated into a violent gunfight, the streets of Houston were profoundly affected, becoming a scene of tragic pandemonium. The tragic event, which transpired with alarming velocity and intensity, condemned a youthful individual to death, engendering profound anguish and disbelief within the community. Factual information. As a result of officers responding to a tip regarding suspicious activity in a residential area, the altercation commenced innocuously enough. Unbeknownst to those involved, this ordinary phone call would swiftly escalate into a critical situation that would put their courage and determination to the test. Officers encountered a deluge of gunfire as they approached the suspect's vehicle, which disrupted the peaceful atmosphere of the neighborhood and ensnared them in a desperate struggle for survival. The individual, who could only be identified as a 19-year-old suspect, openly disregarded the value of human life as he fired a barrage of rounds towards the officers, determined to elude apprehension. Amidst the subsequent state of anarchy, unsuspecting individuals found themselves in the crosshairs. The gratuitous violence that unfolded in front of them irrevocably transformed their lives. A child and a woman who were in the immediate vicinity of the gunfight were injured when their vehicle was involved in the subsequent collision, which rendered the vehicle of the suspect immobile. Although the harm inflicted upon them was not considered critical, the psychological and physical distress they experienced stands as a poignant testament to the indiscriminate consequences of acts of violence of this nature. Amid the tumultuous situation, the valiant personnel of the Houston Police Department demonstrated exceptional bravery by putting their lives and physical well-being at risk in order to safeguard the innocent civilians and apprehend the offender. Officer Gibson, among the courageous personnel engaged in the altercation, suffered injuries throughout the exchange but has since been discharged from the hospital. This incident serves as a reminder of the tenacity and determination of those who are entrusted with the responsibility of safeguarding and serving our communities. KTRK, Houston, Texas. The Houston police officer who was shot on the Southwest Freeway has been identified by the medical examiner's office. Japheth Torres Diaz, age 19, was fatally shot by officers on Saturday, November 11, during the incident. Officers observed a vehicle that had been reported stolen during a carjacking the day before, per the HP. Police stated that they attempted to pull over the driver, subsequently identified as Torres Diaz, but he did not stop. A short pursuit ensued but was terminated when the suspect collided with multiple other vehicles in the main lanes of the I-69 Southwest Freeway near Chimney Rock Road, just before the I-610 West Loop. Video footage shows Officer John Gibson verbally commanding the suspect. However, Torres Diaz opened fire and fatally struck Gibson in the leg, as reported by APD. An onlooker rushed to Gibson's aid and pulled him to safety. Excellent Samaritan John Lally captured the entire incident while donning a body camera. As the video captures him dragging the injured officer across the freeway and behind a vehicle, bullets can be seen flying past him. Other officers then attempted to command Torres Diaz to lower his gun as he exited the vehicle and attempted to enter another, but he refused, according to the HPD. When confronted by gunfire, Torres Diaz collapsed to the ground. However, according to HPD, he disobeyed orders and reloaded an additional magazine into his firearm, prompting officers to fire once more. 5 officers, said the police, fired upon the suspect. Their combined tenure with the department exceeded 27 years. Although wounded, Gibson refrained from firing at the suspect. At the hospital, the 19-year-old was pronounced deceased. A child and a woman were transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries sustained in the collision in which the suspect's vehicle was rendered immobile. Subsequently, Officer Gibson was discharged from the medical facility. The following are the primary details of the shooting between Houston police officers and a 19-year-old suspect. 1. Primarily, the incident commenced with a routine telephone contact to law enforcement in Houston, Texas, informing them of suspicious activity within a residential neighborhood. 2. Escalation. The 19-year-old suspect opened fire on the responding officers, precipitating a violent confrontation that rapidly transformed from a routine encounter. 3. Gunfire exchange. The suspect and the officers engaged in a tumultuous exchange of gunfire, which resulted in the loss of life and the disruption of the peaceful atmosphere of the neighborhood. 4. Bystanders who were not directly involved. A woman and an infant, who were considered innocent bystanders, were entangled in the crossfire and suffered injuries throughout the gunfight. 5. Injuries and casualties. Upon his arrival at the hospital, the 19-year-old suspect was pronounced deceased from his fatal wounds sustained during the gunfight. 6. Law enforcement reaction. In their endeavor to regain control of the situation, the law enforcement officers demonstrated courage and commitment notwithstanding the peril they encountered. 7. Injuries to officers. Officer Gibson, who was among the personnel engaged in the altercation, incurred injuries throughout the exchange, but was subsequently discharged from the medical facility. 8. The community was profoundly affected by the incident, experiencing grief and astonishment, in addition to apprehensions regarding safety and the unpredictability inherent in such incidents. 9. Investigation. The objective of official investigations would be to ascertain the circumstances surrounding the incident and ascertain the motivations underlying the suspect's actions. 10. Resilience and support. Following the calamity, the community would unite in solidarity to provide assistance to those impacted and to reinforce their capacity to persevere in the midst of challenges. These elements collectively provide a comprehensive account of the transpirations that transpired throughout the gunfight and underscore the wider ramifications for law enforcement and the community. The community of Houston, Texas struggled in the days that followed the tragic shooting with the consequences of the violence that had disrupted their tranquility. The neighborhood was engulfed in an outpouring of solidarity and support as word of the incident spread. Residents gathered to offer solace and aid to those who had been tragically impacted. Monuments were erected in the vicinity, functioning as solemn remembrances of the fallen lives and the valor exhibited by law enforcement personnel when confronted with peril. Vigils by the light of candles were erected in remembrance of the suspect, aged 19, and to solicit well-being for the injured bystanders. Authorities continued their investigations into the incident while diligently attempting to reconstruct the sequence of events that culminated in the gunfight. Witness interviews, forensic analysis, and evidence examination were all instrumental in elucidating the circumstances encompassing the violent confrontation. As the inquiry advanced, inquiries emerged regarding the suspect's motivations and the potential existence of underlying factors that contributed to the lamentable consequence. To prevent similar incidents in the future, community leaders demanded a comprehensive evaluation of police procedures and protocols, emphasizing the criticality of accountability and transparency in law enforcement. Notwithstanding the pervasive sorrow and unpredictability that pervaded the atmosphere, indications of optimism and fortitude surfaced within the community. Support networks were fortified and endeavors were initiated to furnish counseling and aid to individuals affected by the traumatic incidents. Determined to establish a safer and more unified neighborhood for all, community members banded together to reconstruct and recover from the wounds caused by the violence. Ultimately, although the bullets struck by the gunfight would require some time to mend, the uplifting and united spirit that arose as a result functioned as a symbol of optimism for the forthcoming period. The comprehensive conclusion effectively encompasses the multifaceted ramifications, such as the reactions of the community, continuous inquiries, demands for reform, and the indomitable spirit of perseverance and optimism in the face of hardship. In the aftermath of this harrowing ordeal, the community of Houston, Texas, has stood resilient in the face of tragedy, demonstrating the strength and unity that defines our spirit. As we reflect on the events that transpired, we are reminded of the fragility of life and the profound impact of violence on our community. Through solidarity and support, we have come together to mourn the loss of life and to offer comfort to those affected by this senseless act of violence. Memorials serve as poignant reminders of the lives lost and the sacrifices made by law enforcement officers who bravely confront danger to keep our streets safe. As investigations into the incident continue, we remain committed to seeking justice and understanding the circumstances that led to this tragic outcome. Calls for reform and accountability underscore our collective determination to prevent such incidents from happening again and to ensure the safety and well-being of all members of our community. In the face of adversity, we find hope in our resilience and our unwavering commitment to building a brighter future. Together, we will heal, rebuild, and strive for a community where peace and harmony prevail. Together, we are Houston Strong. This outro encapsulates the community's response to the incident, the ongoing investigations, calls for reform, and the spirit of resilience and unity amidst adversity. Would you like it? Hit the like button and subscribe to our channels for more interesting and informative videos.